Okay, here is an antiques challenge for you. Can you tell whether I'm lying or telling the truth? Because I'm going to show you this very interesting object here, and I'm going to give you three descriptions. One description will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The other two will be complete lies. See if you can work out which is correct and what this little character really is. So here we go. Here is description number one. He's a car mascot dating from the 1920s. He's bronze or brass and he's silver plated. He's very heavy and he's called the Jolly Policeman, the Laughing Policeman, or the Happy Policeman. Dates more specifically to around 1921, and this particular figure was retailed through the very posh department store Asprey's. So you would bung him on top of your bonnet with his hand held out, and it would be a bit of flash, a bit of bling circa 1920s, because car mascots were very popular at that time. Think of Lalique. You know, if you had a Lalique fish glass car mascot from that period, it'd be worth a fortune. They're very highly collected, these things. So the Laughing Policeman, one sold in Bonham's auction in London not very long ago and made £1,062, including commission. This one I reckon is worth £800, because if you look very closely, you'll see his thumb is missing. Well, of course it is, because he's well road used, and this is the way I love them. This guy has seen action on British roads since the 1920s, and one day long ago some stone threw up from a gravel drive and whipped his thumb off. He is completely oozing in character. I adore him. So that's what he is. That's your option number one. He's a car mascot dating to about 1921, and he's worth £800. Is that a truth, or is it an out and out dastardly lie? Over to you, but here comes option two. He is not a car mascot. Option number two is this. He is a mascot, but he's a company mascot, and very specifically the Murano Tire Company mascot from the 1960s. Now, Murano Tires were an Italian firm traded heavily in Britain, and this, the British Bobby with his hand held out, was the Murano Tire Company mascot. And it's very significant with his hand held out, because the tagline for Murano Tires was, if you want to stop in the wet, wear Muranos. And this is what the Bobby is saying. If you want to stop, wear Murano. So that's what he's all about. He's very cheaply made. He's just cast out of coloured steel of some sort. And he was never sold to Murano Tire customers. He was used to sit in the reception areas of Murano tire fitting bays. And the reason why this fella is completely beaten up and mashed up and missing his thumb is because of this. Murano tire fitters from the 1960s had a terrible reputation for pinching the company mascot during breaks and lunch times and playing games with him. They would set him up on a bunch of tires from set distances. They would stand back and shoot him with those high-pressured airlines. I mean, seriously, health and safety in the 1960s just wasn't even considered. And so they'd have competitions in their break times, which is why he's lost his thumb and he's completely manked up. And then after the break, they'd dash back into the reception and place him on the table so Murano tire buyers could admire him. So that's what he is. He's cheaply cast, never made for, you know, public sale, public consumption. There are many of these things around in actual fact, and because the quality is poor and they don't really have a great reputation for anything other than just being knocked off tires, his value today in the market is about £100. So there you have it. There is option number 2. He's a Murano Tyre Company mascot. He's a bit cheap in his quality and he's worth £100. Now, is that a big, fat, dastardly lie, or am I telling the truth? Over to you, but before you make your mind up, here is option number 3. Okay, if you're of a certain age, you will remember, and you live in Britain, Green Shield stamps. Now, Green Shield stamps, let me explain very briefly for those of you that don't know, are stamps that you would collect when you filled your car up with petrol. Nobody used diesel in the 60s and 70s and 1980s, which is when this guy dates to. And you would collect these Green Shield stamps in a little book. And when you got enough stamps, you could go back to the petrol station and get a gift. It might be a kite, it might be a model of an aeroplane, a car, a plastic game for the kids to play in the car on long journeys, that kind of thing. I mean, they were always horrific quality, but if you remember them like I do, we loved collecting Green Shield stamps because we loved the rubbish we could get for free. But this guy is at the top of the pile of the Green Shield rubbish gifts you could claim, and he was targeted towards truckers. Think about it. If you drove a truck in the 60s, 70s and 80s, you would be collecting more Green Shield stamps than anybody else. And so you could get something really interesting. If you collected 1,000 Green Shield stamps, you could get the Laughing Policeman, and you could sit him on top of your dashboard, and other truckers that passed by on the motorways would see the Laughing Policeman on your dashboard because he's so big, and they, if they didn't have enough Green Shield stamps to bag one of these things, would be green with envy. But as you might imagine, an awful lot of truckers did eventually get these things, so there are loads out there, mass produced in big numbers, so there is no end of supply. And today, if you found one in a little shop or an auction room, you'd be expected to pay 50 quid. So there you have it. There were your 3 options. Just a quick roundup before I give you a few seconds thinking time. So option number 1, he's a car mascot from the 1920s and he's worth 800 quid. Option number 2, he's a company mascot, the Murano Tyre Company from the 1960s, and he's worth about 100 quid. Option number 3, he's from the 60s, 70s and 80s. He's a Green Shield stamp collector's piece. You have to have 1,000 stamps to collect him. He's a bit rubbish and he's worth about 50 quid. Here's 15 seconds thinking time, and then I will reveal the answer. Good luck. And now I'm going to reveal the correct option. So remember, I lied to you twice in the 3 options. Only one option was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that was, well, the car gives it away. Option number 1, this is indeed a very posh 1920s car mascot, and it's worth around £800. So let me know, how did you do? Which option did you go for? Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm David Harper. Cheerio.